Okay, here we go. So we are going to start by sitting up nice and tall, nice and long. You can do this with either both knees bent, or you could do one leg straight, one knee bent, and then alternate, or go right into your straight leg position if you've got enough mobility and flexibility in the back of the legs. And we're going to flex those feet, pull the toes back, reach out nice and long in front of you, and on your inhale, hinge forward with as much of a flat back as you can, and then slow to come back for that stretch. Dropping those shoulders down, letting the collarbone spread wide, lift through the torso, and inhale, hinge. And exhale back. It's a small movement. Now, if you have a knee bent, you're going to get a little bit more range with only one leg straight. And working this single leg is sometimes nice because you can really figure out which leg may be a little tighter, either through the calf or through the back of the upper leg, through the hamstring. So play around with your leg position and really try to lift again and hinge. And one more. We're going to point the toes, draw the shoulders down and back, and exhale to tilt the hips back. Imprint the low back against the mat and start to curl down. Reaching the arms back overhead, nice and long. You can do this with both or one knee bent. Arms flow forward. Inhale to drop the chin, lift the head, and exhale to curl and roll up. You can play around with the range of movement, so you're not having to roll all the way back, especially if you lose that connection in the abdominals, in your core, and it ends up going into your hip flexors. Those feet, those toes pop up off of your mat. Play around with your range. Into that C curve. Gliding the shoulders down, lengthening the neck. And one more. On this last one, we'll dorsiflex at the ankle and we'll roll forward over the thighs, reach for the toes. And work into that stretch. Trying to really hinge at the ankle, not pulling too much on the toes back, but trying to get that movement in the ankle. On our next exhale, we'll restack the spine. Sitting up nice and tall, nice and long. We'll separate our legs about mat width apart and adjust your position so you feel like you're really sitting up onto your sit bones, up onto your tailbones. Arms come out in front. We're going to drop chin to chest, and we're going to fold at the mid-ribs, curl and roll forward, reaching out nice and long, gliding those shoulders down. Breathing into that stretch, and curl and restack. Curling and restacking, nice long spine. Bring your arms out to a T position, and we're going to twist to the right. Hold for a breath. Rotate through, rotate to the other side. Hold for a breath. Sitting up longer and taller. We'll come back to center. Arms glide forward. Dropping chin to chest, forward fold. Curl and rolling out over the thighs. Gliding those shoulders back and down. Pulling the tops of the foot back. And then on your next exhale, restack. Right up over the sit bones, over your tailbone, lengthening long towards the ceiling. Arms come out. And we rotate through the midribs to the right. Hold for a breath. Through to center and to the left. Gliding those shoulders down as the arms come around to the front. One more repetition through that cycle. Chin to chest. Forward roll. Through the legs. Reaching long as you glide the shoulders back away from the neck and the ears. And on your next exhale, restack. Sitting up nice and tall, nice and long, arms open out. And we rotate through the midribs. And back to center. To the other side, keeping the arms open, sitting long and tall. And back to center. Arms come forward. We're going to hinge now at the hip. Can you reach for the feet, reach for the toes? And we're going to work this rotation from the hip. We're going to turn both legs in. The whole leg twists in the hip, not just the foot or the ankle. We come back to that 12 o'clock position, and then both legs externally rotate. So you should see thigh, knee, shin, ankle, and foot all rotate out. And through to center. Internally rotate the leg and the hip. And back to center. Twisting out. Feeling that stretch all the way up the back of the leg. You may even get it into the hip or into the low back along the spine if you're really tight. And one more cycle through. And back to center. We'll restack the spine. Curl and roll up. We'll bring our legs back together, point those toes, and we'll curl and roll down. All the way flat to your mat. We'll reset ourselves. We're going to bend our knees. Place our feet flat on the mat. Arms are going to be nice and long down by the side. We're going to bring our right leg up to tabletop position. We've got our little gap at the low back for that nice neutral spine. As you reach the shoulders down, shoulder blades flat against the mat. We're going to inhale to straighten that right leg forward. And exhale, draw back. Inhale to reach, straighten and lengthen that leg. We'll interlace our fingers, bring our hands back behind the head to support the head and the neck. And on our exhale, we'll fold along the mid-ribs to lift the chest. And inhale to extend that right leg long. And exhale, draw back. You can choose to add the chest lift or keep the back flat and in neutral, avoiding the flexion. Reach and lengthen. Feel the tension build along the quad, the top of the thigh. One more. Lowering the foot, curling and rolling back. Reset the arms nice and long down by the side, left leg to tabletop. Find your symmetry throughout the torso. And inhale, straighten and lengthen that left leg. And exhale, draw back. Feel that quad fire. The straighter you get the leg, you feel that tension build along the muscle. Once again, fingers interlace. We bring our hands back behind the head to add that optional chest lift. Folding along the mid-ribs, along the broad line. We lift the chest, drop the chin slightly, and inhale to extend that left leg. And exhale, glide back. Last two. Holding this tabletop position with your chest lift. On your next exhale, you're going to rotate the upper body to the left and back to center. Rotate over to the right and back to center. Keeping the hips nice and stable. Coming to your center with the chest and changing legs. We'll rotate right to begin with. Twisting to the right through the mid-ribs, anchoring onto that right shoulder as we lift the left. Coming back to center. Keeping your eyes pointing forward so you can track the legs and the hips to see if you're shifting out of position. Is your knee dropping in? Are you lifting a hip? One more, right and left. And curling and rolling down. Arms will come nice and long down by the side. We'll reach the left leg to tabletop and extend the leg up towards the ceiling. And we're going to draw little clockwise circles on the ceiling. Small, very small little circles like you're stirring a pot with that leg. Right leg stays still. You can even place a hand on the leg for a little bit more tactile feedback. Gives a little bit more stability. And then reverse your circle direction with that left leg. And it's a small movement. Again, like you're stirring a small pot with your leg, with your foot. bending that left knee, placing the left foot flat to the mat in line with your sit bone. And we'll bring our right leg to tabletop, extend that leg long towards the ceiling. And we'll work our clockwise circle. Again, you can pin and tack that left leg with your hand or even at the hip. Lengthen and straighten that right leg just a little bit more, like you're trying to touch or draw a circle on the ceiling, and change directions of your circle. Last two. And bending the knee, placing the foot flat. We're going to go for our leg changes. I'm going to add a chest lift, but you can choose to leave the chest lift out. Fingers interlace behind the head. Glide the shoulders down and back. And exhale to fold at the mid-ribs to lift the chest. Tucking the chin slightly to lengthen through the back of the neck. We bring both legs to tabletop. On the inhale, the right leg lowers. Exhale to change through the center. Alternating those leg changes. You can do one leg at a time or have a simultaneous movement of both legs going the opposite direction. Keeping the angle of the knee, that 90-degree bend, the same and constant throughout the movement. We're working on that hip extension, targeting the obliques in our core. Drawing the abdominals in. One more right, then left. Both knees to tabletop. Grab the knees and chin. Draw the legs to you, to your chest. And relax back to the mat. Drawing those shoulders back and down. Collarbone spreads wide. Stretch along the spine. Unfolding at the hip, placing the feet just down from the sit bones. Bring our arms once again long down by our side. Right leg to tabletop. We're going to reach the right leg straight up for the ceiling. And we're going to work our openings, single leg openings. Inhale, right leg glides open to the right and pulls back to center. Inhale to open, exhale to close. Drop a little bit. Inhale to open and exhale to close. We'll do 2 at each point and then we'll drop. Drop a little and open. Now coming about parallel to your mat, reach long with that right leg. Last 2. Bending the knee, placing the foot flat. Lifting the left leg to tabletop, extend that left leg long, straight and long towards the ceiling. For 2 reps, we inhale, open, exhale, close. And drop a little. You want to hit about 4 to 5 spots. And last one is parallel to the mat. Bending the knee and placing the foot flat. We'll bring our knees to tabletop position. Draw the inner thighs together, working into our spine twist supine. On our inhale, we're going to tip onto the right hip, lifting the left hip and the left side of our low back. And exhale to come back to center. Inhale, tip to the left, lifting that right hip. And exhale, draw back. One more right. We're going to extend the left leg long on the mat. Right leg extends towards the ceiling. We're going to fold across the mid-ribs to lift the head, neck, and chest, grabbing the back of the thigh to begin with. We're going to pull that leg back for that hamstring stretch. You can interlace the fingers behind the thigh. And we're going to flex at the ankle, drive the heel for the ceiling, and point the toe. If it's too much of a stretch, bend the left knee, place the foot flat to release some of that stretch tension. We're going to take our hand across the back and around to the side of the leg and draw the leg cross body and point and flex. You could do this with or without the chest lift. Bringing the leg back to center, holding it long towards the ceiling, arms reach down by your side. We're going to inhale to lower that right leg straight. Exhale, dorsiflex at the ankle, kick the leg up. One more. And we'll bend that right knee and extend it out along the mat. Left leg will come to tabletop. We'll lift the chest. We'll straighten that left leg straight up towards the ceiling. Again, if you need to, you can bend the right knee. And we're going to flex at the ankle. Drive that heel for the ceiling and point the toe. Trying to keep the leg still as the foot and the ankle move. And grabbing around the back of that left leg with your right hand, we're going to take that leg across the center line and flex and point. And again, you can drop out of the chest lift. Bringing that leg back to center. Realign the hips if they've shifted, and inhale to lower that straight left leg. Exhale to flex at the ankle, kick the leg back up. bending that knee, placing the foot flat on the mat. We'll bend the other knee as well. Both feet and legs are parallel, just in line with our sit bones. We're going to work our pelvic tilts. On our exhale, we'll tilt the hips back, imprint and flatten the low back against the mat. Slight little lift of the tailbone and the pressure at the base of the hips on the mat, lifting just a little. And then articulate along the low back, across the sacrum, towards the tailbone, back to that neutral spine. On our next rep, we'll curl all the way up into our shoulder bridge. Exhale to tilt back, imprint the low back, start to lift the hips, scoop up through the belly, anchoring into the bottom of the shoulder blades. We'll hold for a breath at the top and articulate along the spine all the way back down and through to the tailbone. You can work this movement with or without the articulation. If the flexion of the low back does not work for your spine, maintain that neutral position and lift the hips straight up. Draw the ribs in, draw navel to spine so you're not arching through the upper back, and roll along the spine. Coming up to the top of that next bridge, and we're going to hold for a breath. Holding here. We're going to extend that right leg parallel along the mat and draw it back. Reach and lengthen and draw it back. One more. Placing the foot back down, reset, curl back down, all the way through, and exhale to peel one segment, one vertebra up off the mat, lifting the hips. Find that tension in the core, and when you're ready, float that left foot and reach long. And exhale, draw back. Trying to keep the hips even. Placing that foot down and curling back to the mat. Arms are going to come up overhead, palms face the ceiling. And on our exhale, the arms glide forward. We fold at the mid-ribs to lift the chest for hundreds modified prep. And inhale, reset. Coming up on your next one, holding holding at the top, taking your right hand back behind the head to slightly support the head and the neck. Left hand goes thumb up, and on our inhale, we're gonna reach out, rotate through the mid-ribs, looking out over that left side, and back to center. We'll do a set of 5 on this side before we reset. One more. Curl and roll back, reset before we switch to the other side. On your exhale, fold and lift, head, neck, chest. Bringing the left hand back behind the head to slightly support the head and the neck. Right hand goes thumb up, palm turned in, and inhale, twist and rotate, up and back. One more. And curl back to the mat. We'll bring our right foot and ankle across the top of the left. Bring the left leg up to tabletop position. We're going to extend that left leg long towards the ceiling. Draw the leg back and work on flexing at the ankle. Right elbows or right hand is pressing against the knee, so you're getting hip stretch on the right and calf and hamstring stretch on the left. Bending that left knee, draw the legs towards you. Deeper stretch for the back of that right hip. One more breath. And we'll change sides. Crossing left ankle over right thigh. We'll bring that right leg to tabletop, extending that right leg, working on stretching the back of the right leg, calf and hamstring, as we draw the left knee away from the shoulder. Bending that right knee, draw the legs towards you. A little bit more hip flexion, deeper stretch through the back of that left hip. And we'll unwind. Legs reach out nice and long. Arms glide overhead. And on our inhale, arms flow forward, head lifts, chin to chest. And exhale to curl. Peeling up, one segment at a time, reach long over the legs. And slow to restack the spine. We're going to flip over face down. For some of our hip extension and back extension. We'll start with basic back extension. So laying face down, drawing inner thighs and heels towards one another. Arms reach long, reaching your fingertips and your hands towards your feet. And on the inhale, you're going to lift head, neck, chest. And exhale to lower. Tightening up the glutes and your abdominals as you lift. Placing the hands down in front of the face, rest your forehead on the back of the hands. Reset your spine and your legs. Tuck the tailbone slightly to soften the low back. And we're going to float the toes up off the mat and inhale, double leg lift. And exhale to lower, keeping the toes floating up off the mat. Two more. Resting the legs. Bring the hands back behind you. Interlace the fingers to draw the chest and the shoulders open more at the front. And inhale to lift and slightly pull back. And slow to lower on the exhale. The higher you lift the chest, and the more you fold at the mid ribs, just below the shoulder blades to lift into extension, the more we're going to tighten the abdominals, engage the glutes and inner thighs. Last one. Bring the hands around to the front. We're going to rest our forehead once again on the back of our hands. Separate the legs slightly as you tuck the tailbone and soften the back, drawing the abdominals in. We're going to hover the feet up off the mat, and we're going to do alternating hip extension. Slowly moving, focus on your breath and the engagement through your core and your glutes. One more each side. And resting the legs. Hands come by the chest, we'll curl the toes under, peeling up off of the mat. And sitting back towards your heels to stretch, rounding through the spine. And reaching out long overhead. We'll restack the spine. You can stay seated on your heels or slowly start to come up to that tall kneeling position as we unwind and restack the spine right up over our hips. Reaching up long overhead. Fingers interlace, we reach over to the right, back to center, stretch up and over to the left. Hands separate and we curl and roll forward, stretching out over the mat. One more breath. And then we'll curl and restack, segment by segment, vertebra by vertebra, reaching up once again, long through the spine, and we'll hinge right, and reach up and hinge left. All right, guys, great work today. Nice job.